Chapter 27. Examination of Dogmatic Views. Verse 1. Whether or not I existed in the past, or whether this world is constant, etc., are questions all based upon the views of an anterior state of things. Verse 2. Whether or not I will exist in the future, or whether the world has limits, etc., are questions all based upon the views of a posterior state of things. Verse 3. It is not possible to assert categorically that I existed in the past, for what had been the case in the anterior state of existence is not the same now. Verse 4. Granted that the self-same Atman exists, that is, in the previous and present states, but with a different perceptual clinging, what kind of an Atman is it then which is separated from clinging? Verse 5. If Atman cannot exist separated from perceptual clinging, then the clinging itself will be the Atman. But again, according to your assertion, there could be no Atman. Verse 6. Again, clinging per se is not Atman, because it rises and vanishes. Indeed, how could perceptual clinging be identified with a perceiver? Verse 7. Again, an Atman different from perceptual clinging is not possible. If it were different, then surely a non-perceptual clinging Atman would also be a possibility, but that is not the case. Verse 8. Consequently, Atman cannot be identical or different from perceptual clinging. It cannot be ascertained further that there is non-perceptual clinging, or that the Atman does not exist. Verse 9. It is not possible to assert categorically that I did not exist in the past, for this existence is no different from what had been the case in the anterior state of existence. Verse 10. If this existence were different from what had been the case in the anterior state, then surely it would exist, independently or detached. It would subsist thus and so, or arise to persist eternally. Verse 11. If that were the case, then such erroneous notations as interruption, destruction of actions, actions done by someone but enjoyed by another, etc., would accordingly follow. Verse 12. Again, it is not the case that present existence arose without an anterior existence, for otherwise an error will result. This would mean that the Atman will either have a creative nature or be something without a cause. Verse 13. Consequently, the false views that I existed in the anterior state, I did not exist, both or neither, are all impossible. Verse 14. The view, whether or not I will exist in the posterior state, is the same, that is, analogous, as that discussed with respect to the anterior state of existence. Verse 15. If the heavenly being is a human being, then there will be constancy, for the heavenly being will be unborn, and, moreover, a constant being will not arise. Verse 16. If a human being is different from the heavenly being, then there will be non-constancy. If that is so, there cannot possibly be a continuity of beings. Verse 17. If one portion is heavenly and another human, then there would be both constancy and non-constancy, but that is not possible. Verse 18. If both constancy and non-constancy could be established concomitantly, then, similarly, neither constancy nor non-constancy could also be established at will. Verse 19. If anyone comes from somewhere and again goes or returns to somewhere else, then samsara will indeed be beginningless. However, such a situation does not exist. Verse 20. If there is nothing constant, by the same token, how could there be anything non-constant, both constant and non-constant, and separated from both constant and non-constant? Verse 21. If the world has limits, how could there be another world? On the other hand, if the world has no limits, how could there be another world? Verse 22. The continuity of the function of the skandhas is like the continual burning of the flame, and therefore it is not possible to speak of limits or non-limits. Verse 23. If a skandha is destroyed in the anterior state, and the present skandha does not arise by being relationally conditioned by the former, then the realm of function will have limits. Verse 24. If a skandha is not destroyed in the anterior state, and the present skandha does not arise by being relationally conditioned by the former, then the realm of function will not have any limits. Verse 25. If one portion is limited and another non-limited, then perhaps the realm of function will be both limited and non-limited, but that is not possible. Verse 26. How indeed could one portion of the perceiver be destroyed and another remain undestroyed? However, this situation is not possible. Verse 27. How indeed could one portion of the perception be destroyed and another remain undestroyed? This situation, again, is not possible. Verse 28. If both the limited and non-limited could be established concomitantly, then similarly neither the limited nor non-limited could also be established at will. Verse 29. Since all existences are of the nature of sunyata, where and by whom and in what manner could such false views on constancy, etc., ever arise? Verse 30. I reverently bow to Gautama, the Buddha, who, out of compassion, has taught the truth of being, or Siddharma, in order to destroy all false views.